This is the old high school, taken approximately 1948 or 49. Showed the old campus. Here are some pictures of our pre-high school classes. Our teacher that year in this homeroom was Claudia Kelly. This is another fifth grade teacher. Elsie Stoniker was the teacher of that homeroom. 1946-47. Okay, here is our sixth grade picture. Paul Rischel was the upper left-hand corner was our homeroom teacher. Then the next homeroom was Hazel McCown, homeroom teacher. This homeroom teacher was Lois Murray. And Mabel Riddle was our next homeroom teacher. Okay. Opals Johnson was the homeroom teacher in this class. Elsie Tatterson was a homeroom teacher in this class. Now, here we are as freshmen. As you can see in the background, the construction had already begun on the high school. The teacher was Mrs. DeGroder. Robert Butcher was the teacher in this homeroom. Elizabeth Boggs was the teacher in this homeroom. Teacher in this homeroom was Virginia Riddle. Mrs. Griffith was a homeroom teacher in this group. Carl Thomas, the teacher in this homeroom. The senior class history. In September 1950, a group of 8th grade graduates entered Spencer High School. We were still green and innocent enough to believe that there were such things as study hall books and elevator tickets could be needed in high school. Finally, the day came when we were to be an organized class. We elected Elizabeth Daugherty as our president. The thrill and excitement that any freshman girl becoming the homecoming princess went to Ruth Simmons and Elizabeth Daugherty that year. 1951, we began to know our way around Spencer High School. We were feeling a little more important. We elected John Buck as our sophomore president, Wanda Suttle and Louise Looney as our attendants to Miss Yellow Jacket. 1952, we were more important than ever. We were juniors. Our first 2 years, we've been looking forward to the junior-senior prom. Now, as juniors, we had this privilege of decorating the community building for the big night. As a theme for the dance, we used the Mardi Gras, which originated in New Orleans. We elected Eleanor West and Shirley Miller as our homecoming princesses. The junior class won the trophy for the best float in the homecoming parade. As starting our senior year, we started preparing for a senior trip. We elected Jimmy Butcher as our senior president, Betty Board and Louise Looney as our homecoming princesses, and Eleanor West was Miss Yellow Jacket. Our senior sponsors were Miss Janet Boggs, Miss Betty Boggs, and Mr. Clifford Garrett. As we go out into the world, we shall always remember the wonderful way in which the teachers of Spencer High have helped us through 4 wonderful years of our life. I want to thank Mr. Taylor for his understanding during our high school days. We also wish to thank our senior sponsors for the wonderful way they put up with us our last year. As the years go by, we will look back at Spencer High School and remember the most wonderful times of our life. Again, we wish to thank each and every teacher. Our senior class trip in 1954 just about didn't take place because the year before the senior class had some problems. But by talking to a principal and our teachers, our senior sponsors, we worked it out, and off we went. We started making money, selling Christmas cards, so forth. We were told we had to have some extra sponsors. My mother, Mrs. Buck, Mrs. Emily Buck, and Steve's mother, Mabel Cooper, came along as sponsors too, so they were a lot of fun with us. We left Spencer early one morning. Actually, 2 girls overslept and missed the trip. We waited an hour for them. They didn't show up. And we started off, and we drove to Valley Bridge. We stopped to look at the view there. Then went on to Babcock State Park and had a brown bag lunch. Then loaded back up again and headed for White Sulphur Springs, a tour of the Greenbrier Hotel, and a drink of that good, delicious sulfur water. You remember that? Then we loaded back up again and headed on down towards the VMI campus. We didn't get off the bus that time, but we did get to see the cadets after their parade coming back to their dormitories. They stopped and talked to us. We got back on the bus and headed on to Natural Bridge. There we had supper and saw the pageant that evening. And about 8:30, 9 o'clock, we loaded back up and headed to Charlottesville, Virginia. We had separate arrangements that night. The boys stayed at one hotel, and the girls stayed 10 miles away at another hotel. Plenty of chaperones. I think some of the boys stayed up all night roaming the halls, but a few of us got some sleep. The next day, we headed on to Thomas Jefferson's home at Monticello and toured the grounds there and enjoyed that. Stopped at Endless Caverns and down in the caves. We came back a tarred but happy group about 10 or 11 o'clock that night. We'll never forget our senior class trip.